this video, I'm going to teach you how I create realistic brown fur using just coloured pencils. This reference photo is taken from a section of a chocolate Labrador, and I'm going to show you how I create this really rich brown fur colour and this wavy fur texture as well. You'll learn different techniques and colour combinations that you can then use to apply to your own drawings. If you do follow along with this tutorial or any of my other videos, then tag me on Instagram, I'd love to see them. For this section of chocolate lab fur that we're going to be drawing, there's quite a lot of contrast, so I thought it would be really good. We've got some really light areas and some dark shadows, so I can just show you how I create that with my coloured pencils. For this tutorial, I'm using mostly Faber-Castell Polychromos pencils. With coloured pencils, you want to work from light to dark. So focus on the lightest colours that you can see in your reference photo first, and then you're going to slowly build up the colours to the darkest part. So to start with, all I'm going to do is I want to just draw in this main shadow here that reaches up and around, and it goes slightly across to the right as well. So I'm going to use Van Dyke Brown from Polychromos, and just very lightly I'm going to sort of sketch up and down with my pencil. Just want to get the main shapes in. So like I said, we are going to be working from light to dark, but you can get these shadows in and everything first. As long as you just press in lightly, don't press too hard. I'm going to leave this one, I think. Just get that main one in just behind. So I think this is his leg and then this is his body. So the part behind it is obviously in a bit of a shadow, which is why it's darker. There, I've just pressed really lightly so we can blend that in with some other colours later. So now if you look closely, you can see sort of this area along the top is quite warm. You really want to try and look for the hidden colours underneath that brown fur. So brown fur reflects, I find, a lot of pinks, purples and some sort of yellow tones as well. So up here is quite warm, like I'm going to be using the ivory to start with from Polychromos, and then underneath here you can see a lot of pinks and purples. So with my ivory pencil, this one's quite sharp but it doesn't have to be. We're pretty much just going to be shading in this entire section. So I'm just doing long strokes. I'm kind of overlapping each part that I draw. I'm not pressing too hard. Just want to start building up the layers. So you can see it goes quite pinky along the edge here as well. But we can add the pink on top of ivory as well. The main thing you want to be focusing on is you want to follow the direction of the fur, so all of your pencil strokes, you want to make sure it's going in the same direction that the fur is. You don't want to be colouring across like that. even though this part is, like I say, quite pink, I think I'm still gonna use this ivory as a base, just to keep it all quite similar. We can just add the different colours on top. Honestly, I've been drawing colour pencils for 4 years now. I still find brown fur scary. Like, I was debating recording this tutorial or not, because I was trying to figure out like what I was gonna do, and I just don't really know. Like, I was like, can I teach this? Because I seem to just wing it every time. But I thought, no, I'll go for it. Like, it always ends up looking good, but I can just never remember, like, I don't know, I think it's just different every time, probably. So I'm still just shading with the ivory. Just want to cover all of the paper. And like I say, just make sure you're going in the same direction that the fur is. This part right in the corner, I'm pressing a lot lighter just because it's a lot more darker brown. So we won't need as much. These lighter base layers are more for like the highlights and things. Like the really dark shadows, like we have done, you can start with like a brown. Okay, next I want to use beige red from the Polychromos. Like I said, you can see a lot of pinks just in this photo. So same again, using a lightish pressure. Just want to shade, especially along this highlighted bit on the edge of his leg. See, I'm using sort of like the edge of the pencil nib rather than the tip. It's just shades more area in at once. And I think it kind of helps with getting that lighter pressure. Sometimes if you're trying to hold it down like this, you'll end up pressing a lot harder than you want to. So I just want to bring it around. This bit is really pink. I think some people struggle a little bit with like picking out these hidden colours, but once you sort of learn what you're looking for, it becomes a lot easier, I think. I've always sort of been able to see these, I think, but then like I'll be using my pink pencil and my parents are like, I cannot see any pink in that fur at all. But it might just be, you know, like obviously if you're following my tutorials, you're obviously an artist and enjoy art, so it probably helps. You've obviously got like that eye for something. It's all just practice though as well. You have got to be careful with the colours. Like obviously, like I'm saying, you can see a lot of pink, but it is subtle. You don't want, like, this is taken from a chocolate Labrador, you don't want your chocolate Labrador to be a pink Labrador or a yellow Labrador. It's just really subtle in the highlights. So doing pretty much the same as step 1 with the ivory pencil, just going over the parts that are a lot more pink. Doesn't really look like anything yet, but it will. Again, I've sort of left this area down here now. I can't really see any pink there, so I'm not going to add it just for the sake of it. I do find having like an even base can really help sometimes. Also, it helps to stop, for me anyway, it helps to stop the drawing from feeling quite overwhelming. Like, once I've got some colour down, I find it's like, oh, that's easy now, especially with like my bigger scale pieces. I'm going to start adding some brown now, I think. So I'm going to go back to my Van Dyke brown, and we're just going to start focusing on some of the detail now. So all of the hairs, like I say, you want to make sure that you're always following the direction that the fur is going. So in this case, it's all coming down diagonally towards the right. There's a few bits going off in different directions, but as long as you've got the general direction diagonally down, then you can't go too far wrong. So if I start just in this top corner, where you can see the darker parts, just want to sketch those in. Be quite loose with your pencil. And you really want to sort of try and copy that fur texture. Doing short strokes and just kind of attaching them together. Keep looking back at your reference photo. Any parts that you can see they're quite highlighted, you can leave those. Don't put any brown in there just yet. Well, this part that we did a little bit of earlier, you can go over that. I think we might use Nugget from the polychromers for this part actually and go over it. I've started with the Van Dyke brown now, so we'll do that as, like I say, our base, and then you can add more colours to blend together on top. You want to make sure with these brown bits as well, make sure, like obviously I said, make sure they're following the general direction, but you don't want it to all be just straight lines either. You can see the fur is quite wavy, so make sure you're copying that with your pencil strokes. Just pressing a bit harder down behind his leg there, and then lifting my pencil up as it comes out so that it will blend out into the lighter areas. There you go. Now I just want to leave this sort of section just above the shadow without any brown at the moment, because it's a lot lighter. I'm going to go down to this bottom right corner now and do pretty much the same thing, leaving this middle highlighted section for the moment. All of the darker hairs you can see, just add those. You don't have to worry either about copying it exactly, so you know, like I can see there's a slightly darker hair there, there's two of them, but if it's slightly in the wrong place, it doesn't matter. If you focus too much on that, you're gonna go absolutely insane. As long as you're copying the general sort of fur texture and everything, you can't go too far wrong. It's still gonna look realistic. I always say that with curly fur. I've got a few curly fur tutorials on my page already. Don't worry about drawing like every single curl exactly where it is, because like I said, you'll go insane. As long as you've got as long as you've sort of achieved the right fur texture with your techniques, it's still going to look realistic. No one's going to notice if one curl or one hair is slightly out of place. Obviously, if you've got a commission and it's like a spotty dog, then you're going to want to make sure that the spots are in the right place and things like that. But just for the fur texture, you're fine. You just want to bring these darker bits up ever so slightly into this highlighted area. You can see there's a slightly darker shadow just going across here, so we can draw that in with our Van Dyke brown. slightly darker part up in the top right. Can draw that in, and a few little bits just here. If you can tell, but I've been quite fast with this layer because if I sort of stop and really slow down, try and make sure I'm drawing every hair, I think it's not, for me anyway, it's not going to come out as realistic as if I'm just sort of throwing my pencil down. Like, the less you sort of think about it, it's going to look more like, you know, its sphere is sort of fly away and it's never in the same place twice. It's always moving, so I just try and sort of replicate that with my pencil strokes. Obviously, I'm taking my time in the way that I'm constantly looking back at my reference photo and everything, but I don't want to be drawing every hair slowly. It's just not going to look right. I want to now use Nugget from Polychromos pencils. This is kind of a lighter version of the Van Dyke Brown. I think it's got a lot more like warmer tones to it. I'm pretty much going to just go over most of what I've just done. It's really going to sort of brighten it up and help to cover that tip of the paper. The more layers you add, the less you're going to see that sort of grain of the paper. You can start bringing some of this out into the highlighted areas as well. Pressing it just a bit harder where I've put the Van Dyke Brown before, and then, like I say, I'm sort of flicking my pencil out into the highlighted parts, just so it's a bit lighter. watercolour pencil really is just about adding those layers and getting these different colours in. Different brushes with your pencil, it all makes a different effect. You have to let me know what other sort of fur types you want to see in a tutorial like this. I think it's quite good practice, even for me, just to practice all these different types of fur, different colours, things like that. So let me know if there's any in particular that you maybe struggle with, or if you've got a drawing that you really want to do and you're not quite sure how to tackle whatever it is, then just leave a comment or send me a message on Instagram and I'll see what I can do. Even if it's not dog fur, it could be cat fur, it could be any animal, it could be a bird. Let me know. I think I'm going to use my beige red again now, because now we've added those browns, I think the pink has got a bit lost. I pressed probably a bit harder here so I can still see it, so you might not need to redo this step, but I just want to add some more pink, especially in this highlight here. Can bring it down into these brown areas too. Like I said, you don't want a pink dog, but this really is going to help with it looking realistic. And bring it down here as well. I am pressing quite a bit harder now. It's going to help to blend all the pencils together as well. I'm going to add some more ivory to these parts along the top, I think, as well. Even if you can see all of your pinks, I think I would do this step again anyway. Like I said, it's helping to blend some of the browns together just by adding this silver glaze on top. And then with ivory, like I said, I'm going to do this top section. Along this highlight as well. If you're looking back and forth from your drawing to your reference photo, just see any areas you think need to be a bit brighter, just add this in. Now, really lightly, I've got Violet from Polychromers. Now, when you're using this pencil, it's really pigmented. The more you use your pencils, you'll get used to sort of how to use them as well. But when you're sort of getting used to them, you can just have a scrap piece of paper next to you and sort of practice a bit before you go onto your drawing. So this will come out quite dark, so I really, really want to just press lightly. Now I want to put it just in this section along the edges of the brown and a little bit just on the leg as well. So I'm going to hold my pencil quite far down towards the bottom. And this will just help you with a really light pressure. And just lightly shading over some areas. So just make sure you follow in the same direction. Can bring the purple up a bit more where it gets a bit darker. Now it's a bit different down here in this left section because I find that purple and brown or blue and brown, they make a really dark brown when you mix them together. It makes sort of a almost black if you press hard enough. So purple is really good for those brown shadows. So I'm just pressing a little bit harder, only in some areas, because it's not, like I said, it can make a almost black colour. We don't want that. It's not that dark down here, but this will help just add some more shadow. When you're drawing, just sort of starting, it can be easy to sort of fall in that trap there where you think if you need to make something darker, just add black or a darker brown or a darker whatever it is. And whereas you can work like that, I find if you use different colours like this purple with the brown, makes it a lot more vibrant. I want to go with my walnut brown now from Polychrome. Oh, actually, I lied. Looking at this section here, it's quite warm, and same over here. I've got it's the colour Burnt Umber, and that's from the Polychromers as well. Okay, I can only find this tiny one for the moment, but it's Burnt Umber, and this is like a really reddy sort of brown colour. And I'm just gonna go over this part. Anywhere where you can see sort of like a orangey reddy undertone, then Burnt Umber is really good for that. I managed to get quite ahead with my commission bookings, so I'm sort of using this time at the moment to try and get ahead with my YouTube just before all of the Christmas craziness comes in. Yeah, this colour is really good. You can see already it's just really sort of brightened it up. Sorry, my hand's probably in the way a bit here because it's such a small pencil. Some of this, I'm going to bring it into this highlighted area as well, just to start blending that in. So I'm just using quite long pencil strokes. Like I said, just copy the sort of length of the fur that you can see in the reference photo. Copy the waves, just little bits. The more I'm looking at the reference photo, I can see this burnt umber sort of colour just everywhere. So you find that, like, I never picked out burnt umber to start with this tutorial. But as you go, you'll find you might need different colours than what you think, and then some colours that you might think, oh, I definitely need that. When it comes to actually drawing it, you don't end up using it. So you sort of get your own way of working in the end. Like, you can, follow tutorials and things, but you know what works best for you. You know which colours you like. You know which ones work well together. But just for learning and practicing, I think following tutorials is really good. There was, like, when I started, there was a few tutorials on YouTube, and I would try and sort of learn from them, but there wasn't loads out there. Like, obviously I've learned now that some people have like a Patreon account where you can pay like a small sort of monthly fee, and there's loads of tutorials on there, and there's a few like colour pencil artists on there, but I didn't know that existed when I started, to be honest. So probably missed out and made my life 10 times harder by trying to basically teach myself, but we got here eventually. sometimes it's going to sound a bit silly, but I do it quite a lot. I think most people can do this, but I don't know. I'm sure you can. You sort of just like if you go a bit cross-eyed and look at your drawing compared to your reference photo, it sort of makes everything a bit blurry. So obviously you're not really seeing any of the detail. You're just seeing where all of the light and the dark areas are, and I find that really helps for adding colour like this. Obviously you're not going to want to do the whole drawing cross-eyed, but just to look at it, I find it does help. There we go. I think we need a bit of a darker colour now to start to blend all of it together, and then we can add the final details. I think I'm going to use, so this is a Caran d'Ache Pablo pencil, and it's called Brownish Beige. So I just drew a brown spaniel, and I used this quite a bit in his highlights. So if you're drawing brown fur, this is a good one to get. I'm going to colour it in pretty much all of the lighter bits. Keep looking back at your reference photo. Any parts that are quite bright, you can leave those. Just make sure now especially you're following the fur direction. You really don't want to be getting that wrong now. This is really just blending it all together now. Now you can still add colours on top of this, like if you notice some bits need to be more pink again, you can use a beige red or you can use a darker pink. Any purple bits, you can add those. Another colour I quite like, I've only recently got it, and it's quite good for brown fur, is a Caran d'Ache Luminance pencil, and it's called Violet Grey, I believe. Let me find it. Yeah, Violet Grey. It's number 093. That's quite good for this brown fur. This it's a purple colour, but it's quite grey as well. It's like a mix of this colour, I think, and purple. So that's really good. I've tried to keep this tutorial quite minimal, like using mostly the polychromos pencils, because I know that's what a lot of artists start with. And there's loads of different pencils in the range. No, they are really good pencils. But obviously just over the years I've sort of expanded. Like I've got what feels like millions of colour pencils now. So I'm going to use them where I can. The Pablo pencils are a bit softer than the polychromos, so they are quite good for, you know, this sort of step where you're blending it together. I find the Pablo pencils, if you have them, they're like a mix of the Faber-Castell polychromos and the Caran d'Ache Luminance pencils. So they're softer than the polychromos, but harder than the Luminance pencils. So they're really good, but I find the just the overall like pencil range is just not as good, I guess. But I've got a few odd pencils from it and they're helpful. Like this brownish beige I really like. There's a few browns that I've got. Got a couple of pinks as well, I think. I use those for drawing like dog's tongues and things. I'm going to use Van Dyke Brown again now. This is where we're going to start adding the final details. So pretty much the same, we're doing the same steps as what we did earlier with the Van Dyke Brown. But we're just going to press a bit harder because this is going to be like our final layers. So all the shadows and everything, press a bit harder. Try and copy the texture of the fur where it's long and wavy. Make sure your strokes are long and wavy. Any shorter bits, any sort of flyaway hairs, draw those in. But make sure you're following the right direction. You'll find at this stage as well that you do actually need to press harder because you've got so many layers of pencil down. You need to press harder to get your pencil now to show on top anyway. So you'll know what sort of feels right for your drawing just based on how your paper feels at this point. Different papers work differently as well, so if you've got a paper with a bit more like tuss on it, then you can put more layers down. Sometimes the heavier papers you can put more layers on. It all just depends, and you can sort of work with, like I say, what works for you. Everyone works differently. Some people like certain papers, other people don't. So just try a few different ones and see what works for your drawings. But you can still use, when you're drawing, you're using pretty much all the same like techniques and things. It just depends, like I say, like how hard you can press with your pencil, how many layers you can get down and things. So you can see now I'm bringing this Van Dyke Brown into the highlights as well. So at the beginning it would have looked way too dark, but now we've got all these different layers down, got our shadows in, then you can see it's really not. So I started with quite a sharp pencil. It's getting a bit more blunt now. If you need to resharpen it, then you can. I think mine's okay for now. I'll probably resharpen it before the very final sort of layers and touch-ups and things. We are covering more or less the entire drawing here. Right, we're almost there now. Slightly gonna shade in this highlight a bit with the Van Dyke brown. And very, very lightly. Okay, now going back to my point ages ago, I am actually gonna use walnut brown now. And this is gonna go in the very darkest shadows. So walnut brown is more of a cool tone brown. And this is what I find works. Like if I want a really sort of dark area, my brown fur or my black fur, I can use this walnut brown with either dark indigo or violet, and that'll make that really dark shadow colour. I'm pressing really hard with this walnut brown, so I'm not really going to be putting any of the pencil on top of it. Might go back in after this with the nugget, and I think that will hopefully finish it off, and I'll use that for all of the highlights and things. Blend it all together. So I'm jumping back and forth quite a bit here, so I'm just noticing bits on my reference photo that I haven't done, just like darker areas. This is quite a small pencil as well, sorry, I'm trying not to get my hand in the way, but I'm struggling. You can see now, like the pink and yellow and purple that we all added earlier, it doesn't look pink or purple at all, but you can see if you look really closely at the drawing now, these like subtle sort of highlights, especially of the pink, sort of poking through, and that's what you want really. That helps to really make it look realistic. I'm gonna go with the nugget now, and basically just gonna colour it all. Still focus on where are the highlights, where are the shadows, like I said, press harder or lighter. But this is just going to bring it all together. especially in these warmer parts up here. So again, just in these final layers, I am pressing quite hard. The only time I wouldn't be pressing hard in these final layers would be if I needed to add a bit more pop of colour, like especially the purple. If I needed to add a bit of a glaze over the top, I wouldn't be pressing very hard then. I'd just lightly go over certain areas. But when you're blending in things, you can press quite hard. Okay, I think, so looking at my drawing, I'm happy with it, but looking on camera, it doesn't look great. But I think it's just like the camera quality is so good that it's almost picking up parts that I actually can't even see with my eyes. I'm gonna move it. Don't know if this looks better now, but I'm quite happy with how it looks now anyway. So I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. Like I said, let me know, either leave a comment, send me a message on Instagram, Let me know if there's any other tutorials that you'd like to see, different fur types, different animals, different colours. Just let me know. Thank you for watching again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.